Hi guys, welcome to my off-season grades for the Americas region. So these are letter grades based on how well I think these teams did in the off-season to upgrade their rosters. Not necessarily how well I think they'll do, that's going to be saved for my tier list that's before Sao Paulo. I'll do grades for EMEA and APAC after this. But yeah, we'll get right into our first team in 100 Thieves, who I gave an A plus. I think Cryo was a very obvious but amazing pickup. I think you could argue that he was a better pickup than if they had picked up Ye, because possible agent pool. I think Cryo has shown in the past to be more flexible. I know Ye has played stuff like Sage and whatnot um, on Andbox, but Cryo played like Sova and stuff on Soar, which neither contribute to him being like good at like the other duelists like Raze and Neon and whatnot, who might be meta. But either way, you have Asuna to play those. But yeah, they also didn't make any changes to the roster that they didn't need to. There were some talks about them possibly signing FNS to replace Stellar, which would have been a mistake in my opinion. And also talks to possibly replacing Bang with like a Xander or um, what's his name? Marved. How did I forget that? Um, which I think would have been an even bigger mistake. Like I could have seen the process to where you would get rid of Stellar, but bang, no way. Yeah, I gave 100 Thieves an A plus. And then Cloud9 here, I gave an A. A lot of people think the roles on this team didn't make sense, which personally, I always knew that they were gonna probably be okay. Like I'd rather have Leaf on Duelist, but he could be flexible. Um, I think Zelsis might have been the one weird pickup, in my opinion. I personally, probably at this point, with the chamber nerfs, I think if this was chamber meta, this team would be awesome and be perfectly fine. But I think outside of that, I think when you add Killjoy into the mix, when you add Cypher into the mix, I think someone like Dapper or Net, or even Hell keeping Mitch around, who they had on the roster, probably would have been better than Celsius. But they really didn't know. And they got Ye, and they kept three amazing players. So I think an A is a pretty good grade for Cloud9. And then the next team, the monster of Cloud, that is Sentinels. I have them at a B plus. Or I like the pickup of Zekin, and both coaches are awesome. I love both, but I'm kind of low on Def. I'm kind of low on Saucy as well. I don't think he's this elite player at a world stage. I mean, and like with Saucy and Pancata, you have the possible like language barrier issue. You have the questions of tens possibly returning to form or not. I think this team, while they got a bunch of good players, had way too many question marks. Like when they made the roster, it's not like they came in, they played some matches, and then you're like, oh shit, this team, like, are they going to be able to do something with it? Like, no, you have the questions when you make the roster. So I don't know. I have them at a B plus. I think they got five really good players, and yeah. And then we have EG, who I gave a C minus. I think three out of their starting five are not franchise caliber, and Ethan, Com, and Boostio. I think they're all really good players and would be at the top of Ascension, but I just they were both like Jojimo and BCJ were both good moves, being keeping Jojimo and signing BCJ. But I just don't think they put themselves in a position to compete internationally, which in year one doesn't really make sense. Like if you want to develop talent, you do it in the second year because from an org's perspective, you want to be the team that won the first year of franchising. So, like, just look at Sentinels. They won the first event, and now they have all of the clout in the world. But I don't know if VG's really looking to do that. So I give him a C minus. And then NRG, I gave an A minus. Where I like the addition of the optic core. Couldn't really do much about not getting Yay or Marved. So I get it. And Artis is probably the best replacement available in the world other than, or for Yay, other than Durka, who wasn't available. So I think they got an awesome player. I think he can play pretty much every agent. But my questions are when it comes to Som. He's played Smokes in the past. And he was okay. I just don't get it. I think you could have gone with plenty of other players. And hell, I think if he doesn't perform, another part of this grade, if he doesn't perform, you could swap Thwifo in, who could end up being better. Which I really like that kind of move, getting a younger player to develop as your sixth man. Obviously, some teams are going to get like assistant coaches and analysts in that slot, like C9 got Qpert, and 100 Thieves got the xCloud9 coach, James IRL, I think is his name. But I think an A minus is pretty good for NRG. They got 4 world class players, so A minus. And then we have Leviathan, who I don't get how you get to this point with this roster. The roles are weird, especially for a post chamber meta. You have your two best players probably, or maybe 2 of your top 3 players. Like they have 6 really good players, but they have 2 of their best ones swapping in and out, and might have their best player on the bench in Kesnet. So I just don't know why you'd spend the money on him and not just keep this roster. Because if you sit anybody here, they're gonna want out. So I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Like B minus, because they got a bunch of good players in Kesnet, NZR, and Mazzino. Who I think, yeah, those are their additions. B minus because I just don't understand how this team's gonna fit. And then we have Crew at a D. This is the lowest grade I'm gonna give to a team. I just don't get how you let Kesnet out. I really don't. You can't find a LATAM player to replace him. Davies looked okay. Jandi has looked good in the past on Duelist, but not Kesnet good. And on top of that, when you lose Mazzino, it just sets up for just not a good offseason no matter who you get. I think Melzer was a good addition. Really, their only save, and actually, and Jandi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I swear I've heard that before, but Xan, Jandi, whatever. It doesn't really matter who you get. It's already a bad offseason. Melzer's their only saving grace from getting an F here. And then onto Loud, who I have at a B. When you lose Sasi and Pancada, similar to Crew, you can't really get much better than a B plus. I think they did a pretty good job of replacing those two. And I think everyone kind of knew that they were going to lose some players, if not more than they did. So I think they did a pretty good job of keeping them and then replacing those 2 players, especially when there isn't a ton of Brazilian talent available. So yeah, I gave them a B. And then MIBR, I wrote down B plus. I'm kind of leaning more towards a B. It's somewhere in between those 2. But they added Heat, who has played fairly well on the world stage, kind of not like up to the hype. I think he's a little bit worse than what everyone thinks he is. But the main reason I gave them the B was because they added, I actually, Bozka, I think is how you pronounce that. But they added the former Loud coach who coached them to a world championship. And again, with what I said about Loud, they don't have a ton of Brazilian talent available. So I think they did a pretty good job adding heat into this roster. So yeah, I'll keep it at a B plus. I talked myself into it. And then Furia, I gave a B, where they added MW's era and didn't make any other changes. They did fairly well at champs. Like they almost took a map off of DRX. I mean, they should have. They were what was it, 12-4 on Ascent. Yeah, 12-4. They definitely should have won that map. And then they took a map off Fnatic. They took Icebox off Fnatic, I think it was. Yeah. So, and then they almost beat him on Haven. So, I think keeping this roster together is pretty good. Wait, is this like 100 Thieves Frost? I didn't even realize this. What? Okay, interesting. That's also a good change, so I'll keep it at a B though. And then with the MW Zero edition, I don't love MW Zero. I think there's potential here, but he's been hyped up for a long time, and then he played at champs and had one good clutch on Breeze, and then I just don't remember anything else good from him. I would have personally preferred them getting some younger Brazilian talent in there, but I think a B is pretty solid for them. So yeah, that's it for the video. I'll be doing another one of these for EMEA soon, and then APAC after that. I did kind of take a long time making this video. I was gonna do the tier list, and then I thought, wow, this video is taking way too long to write, so I'll just do off-season grades in between that. And I also didn't really do too much in between that, so like I didn't work too hard on YouTube stuff, but I will be doing that more now. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.